Member for Kew has a question.
Thank you, Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Education. The Minister stated that he didn't find out about the enhanced bail supervision and support trial until reading the Herald Sun on Saturday morning. A Victorian government spokesperson responded supporting the implementation of the program on Saturday afternoon. Why did the Minister support putting high-risk youth offenders in schools on Saturday afternoon?
Order. 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 Minister for Education.
Thank you, Speaker. Can I say at the outset, my focus as Education Minister is on the hundreds of thousands of students who every day put on a uniform and go to school to learn and live a life of purpose, as well as the safety of their school teachers as well. As I've made very clear, kids with ankle bracelets do not belong in mainstream school settings. As I've equally made clear, they do belong in alternative education settings for 3 reasons. Education is the most powerful weapon to combat disadvantage. Alternative pathways, vocational education and training, smaller class sizes, a wider, more flexible curriculum, they are the pathways for these kids. And on this side of the chamber, we get how education changes lives. We understand what a powerful weapon it is, and that is why we will always focus on education at the heart of reform.
Order. Order. Member for Kew. On a point of order, Manager of Opposition Business.
Speaker, the Minister is required to be factual and I think he is misleading the House.
Order. There's no point of order. Minister to continue.
Speaker, I've got a statement here, it is a factual statement from Tina King, the Victorian Branch President of the Australian Principals Federation. She says, the Australian Principals Federation applauds the decision announced today by the Minister for Education to discontinue the pilot program that placed repeat offenders on bail in mainstream schools with ankle monitoring devices. This decision reflects a strong stance by the Education Minister and a pragmatic approach that prioritises the safety and well-being of students and staff.
Leader of the Opposition.
And that is what we do. We will prioritise the safety of our staff and our students. Speaker, we have more than 1 million students in our system. 660,000 students call the public education system their home. We've just announced a $2.5 billion to public education from the Commonwealth. We know the single most powerful weapon to combat disadvantage, to turn a life around, is in education. But it's got to be the right education setting. It's got to be small class sizes. It's got to be a wide tailored curriculum. You're either in vocational education, you're in training, or you're out trying to get a job. And that is what we will do. Speaker, as a former Minister for Youth Justice, I know and I've seen firsthand how our flexible learning options across our education state change lives. And that is why we are having the approach, and it is why it will change lives.
Minister will resume his seat. On a different point of order, Manager of Opposition Business.
The Minister is debating the question. Clearly debating the question, Speaker.
Clearly.
It was a very narrow question about these youth offenders being announced by the government on the weekend to be in mainstream schools.
Order. There's no point of order. Minister. Order.
Speaker,
Member for Mordialloc.
most of these kids that will be subject to electronic monitoring are disengaged from education and disengaged from school. We want them re-engaged with education. We want to make sure that they have a curriculum that is flexible. We want to make sure they get the intensive wraparound supports. Our flexible learning options do some things that the mainstream system can't do in terms of wraparound training, wraparound supports, alternative pathways and a wider curriculum for them. That is why everyone in the education state under the Allan Labor government will have a pathway. We know what their side is. It's cuts, it's closures, and it's making sure they do everything they can to drive education down.
Time has expired. Member for Kew on a supplementary question.
Thank you, Speaker. Minister, principals were briefed about this program last week. How can the minister claim that principals were briefed on this program last week, but he learnt about it in the Herald Sun?
Member for Nepean, the Leader of the Nationals and the Leader of the Opposition will cease interjecting across the table. Minister.
Speaker, electronic monitoring of bail is being led by the Minister in the other place, the Minister for Youth Justice. And as part of that, the Department of Justice work with the Department of Education and do briefings with a range of stakeholders. As soon as I learnt that government schools, were potentially being placed with electronic monitoring, I stepped in and stopped it. And you only have to read the statements that have been placed by a range of stakeholders to say this is the right decision. Because I know the work that we've done as a government on building the education state up, making sure we've got record investment from the Commonwealth, more schools built in this state than anywhere else in Australia, the best NAPLAN results, the best attendance rates, the best student-to-teacher ratios, First Nations attendance leading the nation right here in Victoria. This is the education state it always will be.
Minister will resume his seat. Order. On a point of order, Manager of Opposition Business.
On relevance, it was why was the Minister for Education not briefed on this as principals were?
Minister has concluded his answer.